Alright guys, one request I get a lot is dealing with how Create a Team works. So I'm going to try to show you how that works with the files themselves. So first let's open up 2K13 and let's open up the Red MC. So first with the Red MC, let's just load up a current roster. Now this is the current roster, there's no mods to it or anything. Now remember, if you have the free version, you can only open up the roster, you can only edit the players. If you want to do roster stuff with your Create a Team outside of the game, you need to be able to edit the teams, arenas, jerseys, and possibly staff too. I mean, it depends on how much you want to be able to edit. Now with the Teams tab, your Create a Team will show up right here. And the name will be here, and the players on the team will show up right here. Make sure you change the player number for the amount of people actually on the team. So this is how you can trade players and assign players and remove players from your team. And situationals and all that fun stuff. Head coach, all that stuff is done on this tab. If you go to arenas, down at the bottom again, these asterisks are where your arena will be. By default, all Create a Teams use S800 and F800 for their stadium and floor. Same with their LED, Dornas, and other files associated with it. It's usually F800. Now, the fun part is jerseys. Uniforms, it depends on which uniform you chose in the game. And those uniforms you could choose are labeled from 1000 to 1011. So these are the if file names that are in the main folder. So depending on which one you choose in the game to be your uniform, it's one of these. So that's up to you to figure out which one is which. And you could have these different logos too, and the logos are all in the 1000s. So I think there's like 90 uniform or logos you can have for Create a Teams. So again, that's a trial and error process, but an easy way to go ahead and figure that one out is you go to the tutorials and we go to the logos / portraits and all that fun. And if you go to the logos one, you can figure out in the logos file which one is yours and get the ID number from that. So once you figure out which logo you have, you can edit it from there. So let's take our tools and let's open up, let's use the 3DM tool because we're going to do uniforms too. So we're going to open, and we're in the 2K13 folder. So we're going to open up the home uniform of UH09. And as you can see, here's the uniform, and this is the design you may have chosen with the letters and numbers and all that fun. Now you may notice that this color isn't the color you chose, and what happens is that when you choose a Create a Team, the game needs to be able to use the same uniform for many different variations. You got to be able to recolor it. So you have this blue, you have this green, and you have this red, and the game automatically recolors these uniforms as needed to what the user chose for the color scheme. So if you export this texture, which is this one, and edit it in GIMP or in Photoshop, and you still want to be able to use that recoloring thing, you need to be able to, you got to keep this blue, red, and green. Same with the other files, the other textures within this file. You need to maintain that. This is also duplicated. Let's say you chose for a logo 1022. So let's say you had the L for your logo. Same thing, if you want to have a custom logo that replaces the L, it needs to keep the red, blue, and green if you're still going to use the recoloring. Now if you don't want to use the recoloring, you have to have access to the jerseys tab of the Red MC. And what will happen is right up here in this area, I believe, yep, 800. So you look for the GID of 800 for your first Create a Team, then 801, then 802, and etc. So right here will be the texture, uniform texture you chose, followed by the logo ID you chose, and over here to the right, use custom colors, change that to 0. Custom colors for numbers, change that to 0. And if you want to change like your headband color, that's this one, and the other colors for your team is right here. And then you can also, if you want to keep the recoloring, but you want to edit it outside of the file for whatever, outside of the game for whatever reason, you can change which part of the jersey uses which color. And if you go to the NLSC and not my personal email, and go to create a team stuff, you can see that team color 1 is equal to red, team color 2 is green, team color 3 is blue, and that is by default. So that's just something to play with. It's very complicated, I guess the best way to do it. To properly create a team that's like the other NBA teams, the best way to do it is to kind of copy the NBA team. So just take all of this, or ideally one of these, control click here, copy, paste it right here. That essentially right there just copied this 96 Sonics, just like that. And then go through here and edit it as you need to. You get rid of the year, change the team type back to an NBA team, whatever you need to do. It's not an easy thing to do, I guess is the best way I'm trying to describe this. So I hope that this gave some kind of understanding to the complexity of it and how it's not that simple just to find the logo. And one thing I should mention is that as you go into the 2K13 file, let's close this, let's load up the other mod tool real quick. Now you saw that thread that talked about the logos and which number and ID goes with them. There is the logo file, the if file that's by itself. This is the one that's used in-game. But in the menus it's different. In the menus, load up, you use the logos large, medium, and small. And here you have to go through and find your specific logo, like this A. Here we go. And then you have to edit it in this file as well as whatever the A is in this file. So it's complicated, and that's why you see me shying away from some of the questions about create a team or being vague about it. But if you understand the tools, I mean, unfortunately, it's not a beginner thing. You have to understand all the tools. You have to understand how the Redditor works. You have to understand how the roster uses the create a team information, and I hope that is what I've just done to make sense to you. So if you need help, I'm more than willing to try to help, but I do not take files in to edit for you, because if I do it for one person, I'm doing it for dozens each day, and I don't have time to do that. I'm sorry. So I hope you learned something. Post in the comments if you need additional help. I will do my best with the time I have. So that's about it. I'll see you in the next video. I hope you learned something. Bye.